Last year, it was a rainy night, and I stopped a car on the national road to return to Chongqing. Now, looking back, it must have been an old, dilapidated bus. The bus was very empty, and there was a girl sitting in the very last row. Next to her, there were empty seats. I approached her and asked, "May I sit here?" She smiled and nodded. She was very beautiful, almost surprisingly so. She was wearing a simple long dress. Driven by a man's nature, I started talking to her, and I told her some of my past stories. She listened attentively, and when I reached emotional parts, she also felt something. After that, she began to talk freely, saying, "This year I'm 22. I had a hard childhood. On my fifth birthday, my father suddenly came to me and said, 'Mother will leave us tomorrow. Don't be sad.' At that time, I was too young to understand. The next morning, when I woke up, I heard the terrible news that my mother had passed away. I looked at my father with an expression of surprise. He just smiled bitterly at me. Thus, father, my brother and I spent a few more years. On the evening of my 10th birthday, my father, with tears in his eyes, has said to me, 'Tomorrow, my brother will also leave us.' I asked, 'Where's the younger brother going?' Father said the younger brother is going to his mother's place. At that time, I didn't pay much attention. The next day, my younger brother suddenly passed away, and I felt frightened, so I went to find my father. My father looked at me with a cold gaze, saying nothing. In the following few years, I did well. But on my 15th birthday in the morning, my father had everything arranged at home, and he celebrated my birthday for me. That night, he suddenly said to me, 'Your father will also leave you tomorrow. You must live well in the future.' He handed a letter to me. He said to me, 'When you turn 20, open this letter, and everything will have an answer.' I was very scared. I feared that everything my father had said was true. The next day, my father truly left me, and they found his body by the river. Before long, she choked up and continued. That's how I lived alone and sorrowfully, and 3 more years passed. Gang came into my life, and I loved him very much. We lived together. Another year passed like this, and one day suddenly Gang was gone. I searched everywhere but couldn't find him. My heart was broken. Finally reaching 20, on the night of my birthday, I opened the letter my father left for me. It read, "Leonor, I know you've had a hard time these years. However, when you turn 18, you will meet a man, but he will leave you 1 year later. You don't need to look for him because you can't find him at all. Tomorrow, our whole family will be reunited." I heard that and shivered all over. I asked her again, "How old are you this year?" She told me, 22 years old. Everyone in my family is good to me right now. Suddenly, I broke out in cold sweat, realizing why no one had come to buy my ticket yet. I looked around and noticed that everyone around me had a blank expression. I tried to look out the window, but the heavy rain blurred my vision. I asked the driver loudly, "Where's the car now?" The driver didn't answer. He seemed not to have noticed my presence. I suddenly turned around to look for the girl, but she was gone. I glanced around again, and she had already sat on the other side of me. "Driver, stop," I shouted, and the car came to a stop. I jumped desperately, missed my step, and fell heavily into the puddle. I suddenly lost all sensation, only vaguely aware that I was floating. The next day, a car passed by the roadside and found me. I woke up and grabbed the person beside me and asked, "Am I still alive?" They looked at me with a strange look.